What's up, internet? My name's Sammy Fightmaster and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing one of NBC's newest shows, Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. So the first season of the show just wrapped up last week, I believe. First week of May? Second week of May? First week, I think? Who knows anymore. So when I first saw the previews for this show, I'll be honest, I wasn't entirely interested in watching it. Not because of all the music. There's a whole lot of singing and dancing in this show, and that was not what turned me off, because I watched Glee all the way through probably about 4 times, except for the quarterback episode, because you only need to live that pain once. But it wasn't because of the singing and dancing. I'm fine with that. Sometimes when I tend to look at like movies or shows, I think about it too logically. And so I was spending too much time focusing on like the logic of how this show would work and how it makes sense and everything. And so I kept getting wrapped up in that, which really makes no sense because I watch tons of supernatural shows and do not try to dive into the logic of that. When it comes to musicals, I apparently have to think too much. I saw that it was getting a lot of good reviews on the internet, so I decided, why not? I'll watch it. And I am so glad that I did. It was such a good show. It was definitely not what I was expecting. And I should know by now that when NBC puts out a show, for the most part, it's a really good show. I mean, like, they're killing it with This Is Us. I was a huge fan of Parenthood back when it was still running. They killed it with that. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's an NBC show too, right? Yeah, love that. NBC does pretty well with shows. All right, so Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist is about this girl named Zoey. She's a coder in San Francisco. She works for this really fun looking tech company that kind of reminds me of Google. That's not the point of the show though. She lives her life sort of very mathematical and by the science and doesn't really have any fun. Her apartment has a whole lot of white in it and she kind of compartmentalizes. She doesn't really go out and have a lot of fun. She doesn't see life as a ton of fun. Anyways, in the first episode of the show, Zoey's having these headaches and she doesn't know why, and they just keep happening. And so her mom talks her into go getting an MRI because her dad has PSP, which is a very rare and debilitating neurological disease. So just to be on the safe side, she goes and gets an MRI. She's very scared going into it. They start playing her some music in there, but while she's in the MRI machine, San Francisco experiences an earthquake. So she's in there during an earthquake, and when she comes out of the MRI machine, she can now suddenly hear everybody around her's thoughts and feelings, but she hears them in big musical song and dance numbers. You can see how my logical brain just kind of couldn't comprehend that. When it first happens, she has no clue what's going on, and she's the only one that can hear this and see this, and she enlists the help of her neighbor, and they're trying to both figure out why this is happening to her and what it means when she hears all of people's innermost, they call them heart songs. That is the term that they give all these songs that they're hearing because it tends to be about people's whatever they desire most or whatever they're struggling with the most. So yeah, so the whole show kind of progresses with Zoey trying to get more comfortable with hearing all of this, and she's learning a lot about the people in her lives through song and dance, which at sometimes can be a little awkward, but it makes for funny television. But she's going through life trying to figure out how to get more comfortable while also having to deal with her dad's debilitating condition as the season goes on, which is hard. That's hard to watch. So you see how all of this kind of affects her life, and it causes a lot of chaos between a lot of her relationships that she has at work and in her personal life. But it was such a good show. As much as the idea of it kind of put me off for a little bit, I'm so glad that I watched the show, and it was done so well. Like, it was written well. All of the song and dance numbers were insanely good, and some of them were really funny. Some of them were really sad. This show will take you on a very wild emotional roller coaster. I don't think I've ever laughed and cried so much at a show. It was insane, but it was so good. And everybody in this show acted their part so well. The show stars Jane Levy, who I haven't seen in anything else, but she was so good in this show. Also stars Skylar Astin, who's best known for his roles in Pitch Perfect. At least for me, he is. Lauren Graham, who I love from Gilmore Girls and Parenthood that I previously mentioned. Alex Newell, who is in Glee, who killed it in Glee. Peter Gallagher, who was Mr. Cohen in The OC, if you've seen The OC, and in a lot of other things, but that's mainly what I know him from. Also has Mary Steenburgen, who it's Buddy's stepmom in Elf. So I love her too. The show was so good. I highly recommend watching it, even if you're like me and you saw the preview for it and you're like, I don't know about that. It was so good. It was so funny at some points. There were points that I laughed so hard that I cried during the show. But then there were also really sad parts that I also cried at for not happy reasons. So be prepared for that if you watch the show. The season is only 12 episodes, so it was on NBC, but now you can watch it on Hulu if you have that. Definitely watch it. I'm gonna give this show 5 stars because I thought that it was just an all-around good, complete show. The writing was done really well. The acting was done really well. All the characters, you got to see them develop throughout the season, which was really nice to see. And it had so many emotions behind it. And that, I just think that that makes a really good show. Definitely go give Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist a watch. You won't regret it. I don't think that you will. So if you've seen the show, let me know your thoughts on it down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, welcome, and I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe at the end of this video and then click that bell to be notified when I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That is all that I've got for you today, so I guess I'll see you next time. Bye!